And Honorable Commissioners, I recall former Governor of Central Bank, Mr. Amadou Colley. All right. You are reminded of your oath, that you are still on oath.
Thank you.
Mr. Colley, since you testified before this commission, we have had various officers from the office who were at the office of the President and who had been paid from particularly from the Special Security Vision 2016 account number 1103002074. I would like to show you some of the withdrawals and just ask you a few questions in relation to what they have said. Okay. Maybe you have even listened to some of them. I'd like to show you, just so that you can have a point of reference when you answer these questions. Withdrawals by Bori LBS Colley, by Lieutenant Colonel Mahmoud Lamin Mendy, Nuha Williams, Second Lieutenant Nuha Williams MS Jame, and Sergeant Suleiman Jame, all from CB20, Mr. Chairman. The voucher in respect of each transaction is the document folded on the first page, if you want to look at the voucher. Mr. Colley, the one thing, all these transactions and many, many more like them, these are just examples or samples, is that one thing they have in common is that they are all headed requests for payment. They are all memos, not on letterhead, but purportedly from Office of the President, addressed to yourself, the Governor of the Central Bank. And all of them said that they were directed by His Excellency, the President of the Gambia in different variations. Now, all of them, without exception, said that these documents were given to them when they arrived at the central bank to collect money.
That's correct.
And you're confirming that is correct?
That's correct.
Do you have an explanation as to why these people who said they were authorized came to the bank with nothing in their hands, no authority from the person who was the signatory to the account?
Yeah.
And you gave them this document to sign when they were paid monies.
Yeah.
Do you have any explanation for the commission?
Yes, Commissioner Bensler, you may recall the last time I was here in my testimony, I had indicated that for so many years, since the coming into force of the Jammeh administration, and with the receipt of funds from Taiwan, I had, as a staff of Central Bank of the Gambia and working for the accounts department, seen instances where the aides, at the time it was Baba Job, would appear without any paper. And my predecessors, two of them are not alive anymore, would commit those officers by getting the secretary to type a statement on behalf of those who are coming to commit. And in my testimony the last time, I said it is the same practice that I continued with, because I could not influence President Jammeh to make sure that he writes, except in one or two instances. Since he stopped doing that, we do not have a choice but to commit these officers for them to make a statement that they were directed by President Jammeh of the Office of the President to make this withdrawal. And linked to that too would be the calls that I would often receive from General Baji. So this is all I can explain. In the absence of written document authority from former President Yahya Jammeh, this is what the bank adopted as a way of committing, these officers who would appear at the bank.
Now, you claim there was a precedent you were following.
Yeah.
And I do recollect asking you whether you have anything to show us with regard to the practice before you became governor. Do you have anything to show us with regard to this as an existing practice before you became governor?
Honorable Commissioner, I say I do not have anything with me. I remember you asked me this. I really don't have any document with me. And I also made a statement that I'm no longer serving at the bank. You said you can make arrangements. I said probably that is for the new administration to do so, but I do not have any document, to be honest. Bro.
Do you have any specific transaction you would like to refer us to? And the predecessor you're talking about?
No, I'm sorry, I cannot provide you any specific transaction. No.
So this is just an allegation you're making?
Well, it's a statement that I'm making, having seen that
a statement,
practice.
Mr. Colley, a statement that cannot be substantiated is just an allegation.
Well, okay.
And if you want this commission to take it seriously, you would have to provide the evidence or the information, or direct us to where the evidence or information can be obtained.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't have any documentation.
Can you direct us to where this information, this allegation that you're making can be found?
Yeah, I'm saying I do expect that the Central Bank of the Gambia in the records archives should have these documents.
You do expect that Central Bank would do what?
Yeah, that's my expectation. Yeah.
Sorry?
I said that's my expectation. That's what I expect.
I didn't hear what you expect. Sorry.
I say I do expect that Central Bank, like any other documents involving finance and transactions, would be part of the archives.
Yeah, they can find it if you tell them where. You were the governor of the bank.
No, I was not. I was the governor, but at the time I was a middle-level officer.
But you are purporting to make a statement which you hopefully is founded in fact. So if it is, we would like you to direct us, but it's up to you, of course.
Right.
Now, Mr. Colley, former governor, The other thing that was said, let me just ask, was this a template that you had in your office then? A template that you filled in every time somebody came to get money?
Yeah, we had this, each time, they appear and they have not appeared with a letter, then, because their names change, yes. So specifically, this is a question of drawing up, such a letter virtually in the same language. So yeah, it's a kind of, template.
Was there
of course, with changes relating to the amount, date, and the officer who is coming to collect.
Now, Mr. Nuha Williams specifically said that on some occasions it was you. He didn't know anything about the transaction, in fact. And it was you who would call him to say that the money was ready and he would pick it up. Do you have anything to say about this?
Let me say that that is not true, that is not correct. Let me give you the circumstances. Wait. It is General Baji who calls me or would send SMS messages. Now, when we go out to acquire, if it is foreign currency, to acquire from the market, from the banks, the foreign currency, and it's assembled, I would often call General Baji, alert him that, look, my guys, my staff, are ready. They've collected. But of course, there would be several, messages, inquiry. Are you ready? That the president is in a hurry. He's asking for this. And then General Baji would tell me that so is coming to collect. This is how we get names of the Lieutenant Nuha Williams and the Tambas and the others. So where there is a delay, sometimes I get calls from Tamba, I get calls from others that General Baji has requested me to act on his behalf. I would only call if there is a delay in his his appearance, or any one of them. Any one of them. Those are the circumstances which I would call to say that, look, our staff are ready. Sometimes we will sit in the office to wait for this money to be collected. And it was my duty to make sure that I put pressure on them for them to come and collect so that my staff would close and go away.
Those are the circumstances when you would call Suleiman, is it Nuha Williams?
Nuha, yeah. General would tell me that so is collecting. Sometimes there would be a change in the person who is collecting. I would never call. I had never called anybody to come and collect, other than under those circumstances.
Now, why do you have in your template, I have been directed by His Excellency, when by your own statement you had not spoken to His Excellency? You had only had instructions from General Baji.
Basically, what we are doing is to facilitate, to put on record the statement that they have told us that they have been directed by the President. That's what we have done.
In fact, all of them said they had no such directives. They only had directives from General Baji. Without exception, Mr. Colley, all of them, without exception, said they were sent by General Baji. They never spoken to the President, and they didn't even know whether the President had directed General Baji.
Can you give me a minute, please? If you look at, I don't know, this one of the statements that I have here is a signature of recipient on behalf of General Baji for the office of the President. So basically, what we are trying to reflect on this is that they have been, it's a directive from the President, that's the information I would have received from General Baji, but the fact that General Baji himself did not appear, he's sending somebody, it makes again try to reflect that fact too.
So General Baji would have told you that the President had directed him?
Yeah,
is that what you're saying?
That's what I reported the last time.
On the phone?
On the phone. And sometimes even as late as 1 o'clock or midnight, I would get calls.
Suleiman Jame, who was here today, you have one of his, you have the withdrawal relating to him, is the one dated 22nd April 2016.
Yes.
He specifically said that he came on a Friday and you told him this was not a working day. Yes, I believe that's what he said. Mm-hmm. Do you remember anything like this?
I probably can't.
You would pay even if it wasn't a working day. You would still arrange and pay. Yeah. Is that what? Yeah.
I cannot remember, but I can confirm that there are instances, even on a Saturday, when the whole team I mean, when I say the whole team, banking department would assemble a central bank of the Gambia, work with some commercial banks or foreign exchange bureaus to acquire cash, foreign currency, if it is foreign currency. Yes.
Mr. Colley, I would also like you to confirm, you remember the state aircraft account?
Account, yes.
Now, the state aircraft account had two signatories, the ex-president and Mr. Mamburinjai.
Yes.
All the payments, all the withdrawals, however, were made without his signature.
Yeah.
Do you have any explanation for this?
Honorable Commissioner, and for me and my colleagues, the same explanation that I gave as far as former President Yahya Jammeh's directives and manner in which he deals with issues, especially issues of that sort, where he would hardly write, put anything in writing.
Mr. Colley, what I'm saying is this, that this account was opened through the Ministry of Finance.
Finance, that's correct.
And the two signatories to the account were the ex-president,
yes,
and Mr. Mamburinjai, the Minister of Finance.
That's correct.
He said in his testimony that he was not aware, you did not tell him when the money came into the account from the Kingdom of Qatar, and he was not even aware, and certainly the latter one, when the monies were being withdrawn. And certainly for this latter statement, the withdrawals indicate that he did not sign on to the withdrawal transactions. So do you have any explanation to give this commission? Do you agree with what he said, and do you have any explanation?
First of all, let me start with the awareness, lack of awareness. What we do.
Let's start from the awareness of the money coming into the account.
Yeah, the awareness, money is coming into the account.
Did you inform? We haven't found any document, but did you at any time inform or write to the Ministry of Finance to tell them that the Kingdom of Qatar was sent a credit note to say that the Kingdom of Qatar has paid $4 million approximately into this account?
I want to confirm to this commission that every credit transaction, especially transactions involving inflow of money from outside, are advised, the account holders are advised with what is called a credit advice. That would be sent out to every other credit card. I do not have any copy with me, but banking department or finance department would have advised Office of the President, Ministry of Finance, or whoever the account holder is, that look, funds have hit the account. Apart from the fact that statements are sent out. The last time I reported, statements would be sent out to Office of the President, balances would be sent out to Accountant General, on a monthly basis, to the Ministry of Finance on a monthly basis. Yeah. On every other government deposit account.
On every?
Every other government deposit account.
And where would these be found? Copies of what you sent out, where would it be found?
The bank does not keep copies of credit advices because it's sent to the account holder. This is just to inform that, look, we have received funds of so much from
What do you keep? What do you keep?
Sorry?
What do you keep? You don't keep credit advices. Copies of what do you keep to show that communication has been made to the signatory to the account?
No, we don't really keep anything of that sort because we know that at the end of the month statement would be sent out and account holders would have gotten information through this credit advice. It's like communication. This is some standard slip which we send out.
All right, let's talk about the withdrawals. Why did you allow withdrawals to be made when the Minister of Finance, who was a signatory, did not sign?
And again, I want to go back, Honorable Commissioner, to the reason that I gave the last time, similar to withdrawals from Vision 2016 or the Gateway account, where the President, who ought to know, just like I should know, that that is not proper, using his power to make sure that those things happen. So we at the Central Bank of the Gambia, of course, do not have a choice dealing with former President Jammeh. So we honor the request that comes from him.
That's your explanation.
That's my explanation.
Mr. Colley, if the ex-president thought it necessary to have the Minister of Finance as a co-signatory to an account,
yes,
don't you think you, or did you not think you as governor, should also ensure that the Minister of Finance signed on to documents to withdraw funds from the account?
Honorable Commissioner, you are right, and that's what should be. And again, I want to go back to my statement. It was awfully difficult dealing with President Jammeh. Honestly speaking, we were helpless.
Well, what I find difficult to appreciate, you told us that you had not been able to meet him for 3 years.
That's correct.
So how can it be difficult to deal with a person you don't meet, you don't see, you don't talk to?
No. I say, let me make this statement, and unfortunately I cannot substantiate it with some written whatever. But I hope some Secretary Generals would be able to confirm that I had personally made requests many times on many other issues, even through chief of protocols, to see President Jammeh on so many matters. It doesn't just happen. It doesn't happen. And I can tell you that sometimes the feedback that I get is like, I do get insults. I can confirm that.
You did get what?
I do get insults.
Insults?
Yes.
From?
Well, it's communicated through some staff of Office of the President. The least I will get that, look, he said he doesn't want to see you. Yes, madam. It's not been a pleasant moment at all.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I don't have any further questions.
Mr. Colley, from what I hear, there was a departure from procedures, from official ways of doing things to personal ways of doing things.
That's correct.
Those insults you heard, they were personal. They had nothing to do with your role as governor. As governor, you are armed with what we call autonomy. The governor of the central bank is supposed to exercise autonomy, and he does not need anybody's permission to exercise his autonomy. Two things. Ex-President Jammeh was an elected president.
Yes.
He was not a sovereign monarch. You are aware that those funds that were being withdrawn were not for public use. They were for official. They were not for personal use. Sorry. They were meant for official use. And therefore, because they were official, they were supposed to be accompanied by full documentation with the right authorization. Second, General Baji. He was not responsible for President Jammeh's financial welfare. His role was to defend and secure the country, including the safety of the president. He was not a signatory to any account. He had no business SMSing you on financial issues. Even as a top military aide to the president, his request should be accompanied by fully authorized requests, signatures. Therefore, your acting on General Baji's request was your decision to depart from official procedures, whether it was out of fear, but you had protection. You could have flagged it as an operational breach to say you would require the right documentation. Yeah? There are laid down procedure. The consideration that it was not normal is simply not good enough when it comes to operational breaches regarding public funds. The former president did not own the funds to the point that you couldn't question. You were aware those were state funds. As the governor, you do have knowledge, or you do have the right to ask where these funds are going and what they are meant for. And you had no doubt they were not personal funds. So my question is, why give merit to the request of a top military aide who had no financial responsibility? The Commission would like to know why it was so important for you to prepare internally written notes to cover the withdrawals and get the people who came empty-handed to sign huge sums of money that nobody could account for. The merit, what was the merit about General Baji making you sign off on those forms? We want to know that.
Thank you, Commissioner, Honorable Commissioner. First of all, with autonomy, yes, but I can tell you that I may not agree with anybody that Central Bank of the Gambia is truly autonomous to the extent that under the regime which we were serving, you can say no to those things. If we were indeed and are able to exercise, I don't think we would have been sitting here. That's number one. Number two, let me also make this clarification that what we were receiving from General Baji, Central Bank of the Gambia, is a request which he claims came from President Jammeh.
How did you validate?
I think I answered this the last time. In a situation where it is awfully difficult to meet President Jammeh or even discuss those issues, I said initially with Vision 2016, Jammeh was signing instructions himself. We got to a point where the Chief of Protocol, Sana Jaju, would prepare, based on the information I get from him, and try to get the president to sign. The last time he came, or the next time he came, no paper at all, because the president refused to. Here you then have an executive who we all expect. We all expect that it should not be, because he should not have done that. And as much as he is the president, he should not have. If he had done what is right, we would not be sitting here on this issue. Yes, these are public funds, but as far as General Baji is concerned, I'm seeing, and that's the way my colleagues also saw General Baji, that he is an aide, messenger of President Jammeh. I think it's common knowledge that virtually, in as much as he's a military officer, he was serving President Jammeh.
That was the point that I precisely wanted to pick up. They were messengers.
Yeah.
They were not authorized signatories.
Not
so you did
That's
have
correct.
a duty. You did have a duty to verify and validate their claim that they were directed. It was not written. It was
Not
just verbal. And because of that, you could also say procedure, official duties do not permit me to pay. Sana Jaju was being sent. General Baji was sent. So you dealt with them. You didn't deal with the president. You can tell them, can I get something stronger than verbal directives? Even as a directive, it has to come in a letter, signed.
Yes.
So why didn't you insist? In this case, it was the people who spoke to you that you dealt with. You didn't deal with the president.
I did not.
And you think if you told them to bring it, there was a risk, even with Sana Jaju? You seem to have had a good rapport with General to the point of SMS. So you could say, can you help me with a written instruction from the big man? If he trusted the General with millions, he could also influence him to write a letter.
Commissioner Sen, I'm not quite sure whether I said it the last time I appeared. And this is my conversation with Sana. When again used some language, foul language against Sana, and say, get up, go to Central Bank of the Gambia. So look, we were using, especially Chief of Protocol, because we interacted a lot. Alaji Sise, Sana Jaju, where we even discussed this very matter in the office to say that, look, it would be helpful if we get what the president was giving you initially at the earlier stages. So you wonder, why did the president stop? And he still would force you people to come. I personally, and William Jame, I remembered saying that, look, this is not right. It's problematic, not just for the bank, even for you as a messenger coming through General Baji. Yes, I agree with you that it is not right. But where I want you to understand is that I did not have any influence to get President Jammeh do what everybody knows is right and is expected.
We know that.
Yeah.
This time your influence was on the people who spoke to you.
Yeah.
We didn't expect you to influence him, but we expected you to influence the people he sent to you so that they would do it one-on-one with him. And where that failed, you had the option to keep a track record, written track record, to say these are the efforts made by the governor to get things regularized. There is nothing written. It's all verbal. Remember, we're just inquiring. We're not assuming we had knowledge.
No.
So our concern is what we are reiterating.
Yeah.
What happened to an audit trail showing your concerns, your discussions with these guys, a request from you to them saying, a few occasions we have approved. The following one, the subsequent withdrawals, we would like you to do so and so. From the central bank to the request. That's all we're asking. That doesn't exist.
No, I agree. I said there is no documentary evidence to those he is sending, but I have interacted in my interaction with all of them. I said, look, you should make an effort to make sure that the president signs something.
What stopped you from writing?
Writing to?
Yes, to Sana, to General, the people who you are dealing with directly. Central bankers are supposed to write. They're supposed to document. This is operational procedure. Normal operational procedure. It wasn't abnormal to write.
Commissioner said, yes, this is central bank, and that is what is expected of central bank. I can confirm to you that on all issues, with the exception of dealings with President Jammeh or Office of the President on this matter, that's the only exception. And I'm sorry that we couldn't have gone beyond this.
Do you agree that without anything on record, these transactions can actually be flagged as fraudulent because the authorized signatory never sent them, they never delivered the money to them. They only stop with the intermediary and the top aid. From a banking perspective, unless you are claiming full knowledge of what happened, but from a banking perspective, they were unauthorized and could have been fraudulent transactions.
I think the statement was made very clear the last time. In the absence of any documents, as we would all expect, to prove that this is actually coming from the account holder being President Jammeh, I said I believe that monies are delivered, but I cannot prove that that is the case, except in situations where when there is a storage or a counterfeit in if it is a foreign currency, the president will send it through the protocol directly to the office of the governor, and we will replace. And I remember the occasion where I actually paid the $100. So that proves that he does. But that is, I cannot provide you any documentary evidence that all monies are delivered to him, but I have the belief that that's the case.
All of it was done out of fear and precaution.
I remember the chairman asking me, what do I mean by abnormal? That we were dealing with a leader, a situation that was abnormal, where there was a violation of everything starting from the Constitution down to policy. Policies at many institutions, but relating to this, whether it's at Accountant General Department or DNP in those days, Ministry of Finance, the Central Bank of the Gambia, that was the reality.
Thank you very much, Governor.
Sorry, I just have one issue I want to clear. Mr. Colley, there is just one concern that I have, if I may call it a concern. The President chose to be a signatory in the accounts which bear in some of these accounts. He filled the signature form, the necessary forms and the signature card, which had his signature.
Yes.
Yes, and he submitted it. Now, don't you think that he did so because he actually wanted to be a signatory to those accounts?
Yes.
And that signifies that he wanted to sign onto the transactions.
Yes.
So, and he did sign. In the International Gateway account, when he became in the Vision 2016, he was signing. Don't you think it was because you in the bank showed him that money could be withdrawn without a signature? That's why he stopped signing. If you had, when they first started coming, the first time they came, you said, well, we only have one signature to this account. The forms must be taken to him to sign. You cannot withdraw without signing. Don't you think you would not have had this problem that you have? Did you make any such attempt to say, the first time they tried it, this cannot happen, this is not possible, I cannot give you money without the signature to the account?
I said what I cannot provide is documentary evidence of the effort that we made with the messengers that he's sending, and the fact that we did not have access to the President, himself. Yes, the statement that he made is correct. Initially, he started, he would sign. At some point, he stopped, and that's the time we adopted. We didn't like, to those messengers, to those aides.
Well, I hear you, but Mr. Colley, I just want you to clarify that. When he did not sign the first time, why could the bank not have said it's not possible to withdraw money from this bank without the signatory to the account? Whoever it is, it's just not possible. Is there anything on record to show that the bank attempted to say or did say that this is not possible, they just cannot do it?
I think that's the question I answered, where I said, there is no documentary proof of our effort, our communication to say that, you cannot do that. There is none. But of course, we made a lot of effort. But we also went ahead and honored the request.
That's all, Mr.
Well, you may leave.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I think this is a convenient point to adjourn.
Yes,
the afternoon.
Well, we'll rise. We'll be back at 2:30.